Join us for some Valentine's Day crafting and baking and a little kitchen update as I have been thinking about things a little more. So first off, we were getting going with crafts in the morning. I just showed you what we made. I just look up stuff on Pinterest and copy it the best that I can. Always turns out cute and it's fun. So these were really cute. We made a couple of them and then we hung them up. And then I also got this wreath recently. It came in kind of late, so I put it up right before Valentine's Day. But I will link it below if you want it for next year. I'm going to leave it up for the rest of February. But it's really beautiful. So like I said, I'll link it below. And if you want to order it for next year, no pressure, of course. But it is really pretty. And I wanted something a little bit different for my door. Heart shape. Just something a little different than what I usually see at the stores. Okay, just a little more thoughts from the last video where I was thinking of turning my kitchen more into like a homesteady, cottagey style. I have to talk to my husband about all of this, but these are the ideas that I was kind of coming up with, and after messaging back and forth with a new friend that I met on here. But this cupboard, I think, could be all open. We just have our plates and stuff, all our plates and bowls. If that one was jars, in this pantry I have like all of those. I feel like those could go in there, and then I could get this stuff much better organized because it used to be, and then we just keep adding more things. I thought maybe I could move plates to this one. This is where I just have baby stuff. And some of this I can still get rid of. I decluttered a lot because there's a lot that I didn't use after my first baby, but there's even more that I'm not using this time around. Like, we have a ton of bottles up there and I'm not using them, and I really feel like I only need to have like 1 or 2 on hand. So I was thinking plates and stuff here, which it's not right by the dishwasher. That's why I have them in the other spot, but I think it'll be fine because we do have our cups here. So that's what I was thinking. And then I would love to switch these out eventually. I want something gold. I don't know, I just love gold and I think it'd be really pretty with the dark. Also, don't mind, I really need to clean my cabinets. That's what I'm thinking so far. And then I have another one over here, and I thought, what if those were open and then I did curtains on there? I think that'd be really cute. You can move all of these shelves for how big you want it, how much space you need. So it doesn't have to be exactly like that. So I could even take them all out and store just bigger things up there. I don't know, but I thought that'd be really cute. Only other thing is that I would love to cover this. I've seen magnetic curtain rods, and then people will put a curtain over it. I just don't know how well they stick. Like, would that be really annoying? I'm not really sure. But that's what I'm thinking for now. So basically we would have open up there, and then I'd love some farmhousey curtains on the window. Have open up here on either side, not in the middle. So the curtain over that would match too. That's what I'm thinking. So these Pop-Tarts were an absolute labor of love. They took me most of the afternoon. I ended up not even making dinner that night because I was so tired. And they call for so much butter. Like, when I realized how much was in this, I was like, what is in this stuff at the store? Which I don't really buy those anyway because they're just a complete sugar bomb. And these are too, although I tried to use, you know, a little bit better ingredients. But they are definitely a very special, you know, once a year treat. I am not going to make these on the regular, but they were fun, and I will link the recipe below. It uses soft white wheat, so freshly milled flour, so there's still plenty of nutrients. It's just there's also so much butter and a lot of sugar in the icing. There's not very much sugar actually in the actual Pop-Tarts themselves. It was like a quarter cup for the whole thing. But they're just very rich with all the butter. So it was 5 cups of soft white wheat, and the icing was probably the best part. It's just jam, jelly, powdered sugar, and a little bit of milk. I did strawberry like the recipe called for, but after I did that, I was like, why didn't I just get raspberry jelly? Because that's actually my husband's favorite, and strawberry is like one of his least favorite. But I'm still sometimes in that trap where you find a recipe and you're like, oh, it has to be exactly like this, but it really doesn't. I could have just easily swapped it out for raspberry. So you can do lots of swapping with this, but I'll link it below if you want to check it out. It was really easy. It was just very, very time consuming. So a labor of love for sure. So part of what took such a long time is that the butter had to be cold, and then you have to grate it. It also says if you have a food processor, you can do that. That would definitely be a lot quicker, but I do not, so I had to grate all of it, and that took a while, and then it gets warm, and then you got to stick it back in so that it's not making more of a mess than it already is. But that was what probably took me the longest, and then also just assembling them. So just a fair warning. The other thing is that I do not have a ton of counter space, and I probably should have set this up on the table so that I could spread out a little more. So our first set of Pop-Tarts that we made ended up being pretty thick. They were honestly too big. So I kept them that way, though I did not remake them, and I just decided to cut them in half. You could even cut them in quarters too, so that it's like a proper serving and not just completely overwhelming for your body. But the second set, as you'll see in just a little bit here, looked more normal and looked more like an actual Pop-Tart. So definitely needed a little more space, but as you can see, I decided to split the dough up to give me a little bit more room to make it a little smaller, but I still did the first set too big. So there's the first set, and then here is the second set, which there was only 3 in the second set. So most of the ones that we made were giant, but once we baked these up and let them cool, added the delicious icing, they were so good. I froze the rest of them, so we have just a couple in our fridge to kind of munch on throughout the week. And then I froze the rest of them so we can pull them out over time. The frosting is really, really easy just to whip up, or I honestly might freeze what we have left of that too because I have an excess. But these are a special treat, and now that I made this batch, I probably won't make another batch for at least a year. And because they're so rich, I also will have them in my freezer for a while. So definitely check it out below. I have saved a lot of recipes from the website that I got this one from. She does a lot of freshly milled dessert recipes, which is what I'm really looking for. So, and everything I've tried from her so far has been delicious. So I highly recommend. And that is what we did on our Valentine's Day. We did some projects. We learned about St. Valentine, and we made Pop-Tarts, and we rested other than that. So it was a good day, and I hope that you also had a good Valentine's Day with all of your loved ones.